people go through. It says, I've been working at this for a while. And sometimes we don't take advantage of all the great things that are out there for us to grab hold of, mostly education. I know Tony and I were talking about that the other day, and I'm so grateful for all the teachers that I've had, for the mentors that have been in my life, because, I mean, do you have a mentor? Because without a mentor, well, I think we're just kind of sliding through life or gliding through life or going backwards in life, one or the other. Who are you listening to is really important. And, I always start with saying, let's start out with gratitude. And every morning before my feet hit the floor, you guys know the story. I give 5 things I'm grateful for. And today I said, you know what? I tell people I'm grateful for them. And Chase, I still owe you a phone call back because your little phone call last week about gratitude just touched my heart so much. And it was so inspiring. I thought, let's start out this week with gratitude. So Miss Kelly went back and she went through everyone that has consistently been on this Q&A. And we want to give gratitude to all of them. And so give the jazz hands, give claps, whatever you desire to do as Kelly, as we put this up, showing gratitude for our top attendees. Look at how many people are consistent in what they do. And we just want to honor you and give gratitude for you. We're so appreciative. And the fun part about giving gratitude to people is it actually makes you feel good, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And every morning my phone goes off and it says, what will you do today to add value to people? Well, you guys make it real simple, because Tony and I work to add value. And I say Tony and I, yet I very rarely let him talk, if you noticed. That's the wife's job, if anybody doesn't know that, to make certain. And we'll get with you here in just a moment, Elijah. I also say you can be in gratitude or you can be negative. Your brain cannot be grateful and negative at the same time. And many of you know that I wrote the bold laws. And I wrote those bold laws because Horst Schulze was someone that I listened to, not as a true mentor, yet I love to listen. He's the gentleman that started Ritz-Carlton, and he had 12 steps. And one of those steps was, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And every day they would have a stand up and they would go through one of those steps. And so I thought, well, I want bold laws. I want bold laws to help people, that every day they can go through a bold law, and we did have a stand up. I've had stand ups from, I don't know where that one came from, but since I started real estate and hired one person, we had a meeting every morning. And that's what Horst did as well. And he said, when you get together, make sure that you have one thing that we're going to focus on. And today we're going to be focusing on how to get a return on failure. Now, with those bold laws, complaining equals garbage magnet. You can't be in gratitude and complaining at the same time. And I've always said I wanted to have a video that portrayed exactly what I was talking about, with this guy walking down the street. And I gave the vision to Nicole. And the next day, here you go. This is what she came up with. When we cast visions, somebody grabs it and somebody does something with it. So this guy's complaining. So I love that video, because that's what you look like. You just don't see the garbage attaching to you, yet complaining equals a garbage magnet. And I want you all to know that we're doing something different today. Technology is so much fun. We're live streaming this on all the channels. So you are on live stream. If you have a problem with that, take your cameras off. I just want everyone to know you are part of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all those arenas as we do this. So let's get going. Elijah, what do you have?
Wow, this feels like my 15 seconds of fame on the live stream. I don't think I've ever been on one before. My question is because I'm sorry that I missed your last event. So when is your next event, like Sales Mastery, that I could sign up for?
Well, you know what? What a great question. I always love those because I love to add value. And I've gotten some great feedback from people. And all of you that took the sales mastery last time, give us feedback. They want more scripts. And so this time we'll be going into a script and then having the VIPs actually go in breakout rooms and practice that script. So we've learned a lot from the first time. And June 29th is the next one. The landing page is up and ready to go. You can go to diannak.com/. We'll just have them put that in the chat, if they will, as to where you can sign up. And I think that that's important because, you know, we can fail a lot and we can be successful. And success is a lousy teacher, to be real honest with you. I got caught up in success and I didn't watch my money. Many of you know that story. I'll go through it very briefly just to let you know some of the things that can happen when we don't learn from failure. That I was doing very well. I mean, I was making so much. We were traveling, we were doing all sorts of fun things. And being a single parent, it was a lot of fun to be able to do that with the kids. And I hired a very good friend of mine to take over the books in my property management division. To make a long story short, she embezzled a lot and didn't pay the payments. And I woke up one morning with no money and 216 house payments to make up. Well, that was a big failure. Also, I went to a meeting at the board of directors. I had some people ride with me. And when we came out, my car wasn't there. And the police officer announced right there to all the people, hey, your car was not stolen, it was repossessed. Now, see, failure can sometimes not only hurt your heart, cause your nervous system to go crazy, it can also be very embarrassing. Yet, what do we learn from the failure? Do we keep going or do we go into victimhood? Because if we can't appreciate failure for what it teaches us, I mean, visit your money often, right? That was the big lesson out of all of that. And are we learning from our failure? When we do not take a listing or we make a sale or we're talking with somebody about coaching and they decide not to join us, do we actually ask them, what could I do better? What was it that allowed you to hang on to where you're at versus moving forward? Because remember, well, if you were in sales mastery, I talked about the biases that people have, and that our brain wants to keep us safe. So 60% of the people will not make a decision, not because it's the best thing for them to do, it's because it's the safest thing for them to do. And a lot of people hang on to their money because they let this doggone checkbook do their thinking for them. And that's probably one of the greatest lessons that I've ever made in my life is to now, not to say I've never been caught in that situation. I wish I could say 100% of the time I didn't let my checkbook do the thinking. It has done the thinking from time to time. When it comes to education, I don't know that I've ever let my checkbook do the thinking for me because it doesn't have a brain. And if I want my brain to get better, if I desire to get better, I've got to personally become better. If I want to take more listings, I've got to become better. If I want more coaching clients, I've got to become better. Our business will grow to the extent that we do. Yet, who are you listening to? So, how do you prepare yourself to actually fail well? Do you record your listing presentations, any presentation you give? When I talk about I go to real estate a lot, and it's about business too. Do you record yourself and do you listen to yourself as to where you failed and how you can learn from it? Most people will not record themselves because they don't want to go back and listen. It's challenging to listen to yourself. It really is. And yet, think about that. What could you learn from that? What could you do? And if you're brand new, you got to expect to fail a little bit. You're not going to get them all. It was because, number one, having 216 house payments to make and going back into sales. And by the way, we didn't have cell phones that told you who was calling. I never knew if it was a mortgage company, a bank, an upset homeowner that wanted me to pay their payments, or if it was a potential buyer or seller. So I had to take every phone call. And it was fun to go through those. I don't even know how my nervous system made it through without faith and without God, that's for sure. Yet nothing actually happens to us. It happens for us to learn something. Yet are we learning? Are we learning every day? Instead of beating ourselves up saying, I wish I could have, should have, or need to, what if we just learn from that? So think about a failure that maybe you recently had. Maybe a buyer who didn't buy, a seller who didn't sell, a coaching client that you spoke with that didn't sign up, maybe a client that quit. Maybe in business, you didn't have that great of a month and now you're struggling a little bit. Maybe making payroll, you're up at nights wondering how you're going to do that. Well, those are the things that we get to learn from. So let's think about this. Number one, what can cause us to fail? Not having knowledge, the lack of ability to actually, the ambition to move us forward. I mean, we're all supposed to lead generate, yet do we? And if not, why not? Because we let all those distractions get into our way, which is allowing us to fail. Do we have a process? Is it inadequate or does it work? Do we have a system written out? And do we have to tweak that system? Are we willing to take on challenges? Because a lot of failure is caused because we're in our comfort zone. So, Tony, you work with a lot of folks, and I know Tony's working to get on with his cell phone. I'm not sure if you're here right now or not. Think about that. What what if you failed at recently that you learned from? Here's a seller who loved me and went with the discount broker. Yeah, now that I don't know about you, but things like that, they kind of hurt me. They gave me a wake-up call and said, what could I have said? What could I have done? And did I even know that they were interviewing a discount broker? So on the pre-listing, before you ever go in, to ask them, how many agents, may I ask, are you interviewing? And I've actually asked for the names. Some people will give you the names, some people won't. Doesn't matter. When they do, though, it tells you who you're up against, and you need to know your competition, right? Benchmark your competition, regardless of the business you're in. Are you benchmarking them to see what's happening? And if they are interviewing a discount broker, make certain that during your don't wait for you bring it up. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, one of the things that frightens me a lot is many people, they interview people and they base their decision on price. Now, has there ever been a time in your life that you bought something that was cheap and it failed to work or it didn't work that long? Well, this time might be like that time. Because, see, you didn't even ask them to give up money, and they're already discounting their fee. And if they'll give up their money that fast, how fast will they give up your money when they're negotiating? Do they want to make a sale? Therefore, they don't care how much you lose, or will they fight for you? See, when Henry Kissinger went in for the United States as a negotiator, do you think they paid him a lot or a little? Yeah, they paid him a lot. Why? Because he was good at what he did. And he negotiated for what the United States needed. That's who I am. I am a great negotiator. I can negotiate commissions and I can negotiate your money. So if they won't fight for their own money, do you think they're going to fight for yours? Really? That would frighten me because is it more about what you pay or is it more about what you put in your pocket? See, I think it's the net that really matters. And that's why people choose me because I bring them the most net. It's not what you pay, it's what you end up with that counts. Isn't that right? So we got to put doubt in their mind. We've got to put pain in there. And you may bring it up even if you don't know if they're thinking about a discount broker. You can say, there's so many differences in agents, and most people think a realtor is a realtor is a realtor, right? Well, that's not true. There are some agents that will discount their commissions. And what frightens me about that is if they'll give up their own money, they're going to give up yours twice as fast to make the sale. Then there's agents that just put a sign in the yard, put it in multiple listing and pray somebody else sells it. We call it the 3 P's of real estate. See, and you bring up all these people without them even having to say anything. You got to put doubt in their mind because people will move away from pain more than they move towards pleasure. And when we fail, it's generally we fail through our communication. So we're not going to let somebody else dictate our presentation. We can make our own and bring in whatever we desire to do. And when you do fail, which you will from time to time, find out why, what happened, what could you have done differently? And if you're like me, you may have found out the same thing that I did. I just failed to bring up things. Oh, I went with this person because of, and I go, oh my goodness, I do that too. I failed to do that. So I'd write it down. I'd figure out how to put it into my presentation. Yet when we think that success is here and failure is here, and they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, we're going to fail because we're already setting our brain up to fail. We've got to keep failure and success like this because they are right next together. We should be thinking success comes from failure. You show me somebody successful and I'll show you somebody that has failed time and time again. How many of you on here, let's see, Chase said, I had a buyer that chose another agent because she was buying new construction and was basically doing all the work and the other agent would rebate the commission. It is amazing how many people, actually, by the way, I don't know if your real estate commission is like ours was in Colorado, that was against the law. The agent could actually lose their license. You can't buy business. Now, you might want to check with your real estate commission, and if so, bring it up on your buyer consultation. Bring it up. You're actually breaking the law. And if you were to be turned in, you and the agent, well, find out. I'm not going to say anything more. You find out from your state and handle that one right up front because I'm finding a lot of agents, they'll make anything because they're desperate. Desperate people. In fact, did you know that 79%, I don't know how they found this out. I find research fascinating. 79% of the people will lie when backed into a corner. It's interesting. So think about that. Agents, if they're desperate and they're willing to do it for practically nothing because they need $100 is better than 1,000 that I don't have. It's kind of the philosophy that they have. And a lot of people see failure as a weakness and success as strength. And failure depresses them and success actually impresses people. Yet think about this. When you connect with people, do you connect because they're so doggone successful? Or do you connect because they're like you and they've been through a lot and that you can relate to them because of their failures? I talk about my failures because that's what helped make me successful. So if you're not willing to fail, if you're not willing to get outside your comfort zone, if you're not willing to go for something, then what would you do? I mean, I learned from the Navy SEALs there's three things in life that you got to decide every single day. You're either going to give up on something, you're going to give in to something, or you're going to give it all you got. And that's what we do every single day that we get up. Are we going to give in? Are we going to give up? Or are we going to give it all we got? And when we give it all we got, we're going to fail. And think of Thomas Edison. 999 times or whatever. He said, well, I just found that many times it didn't work. When he had a fire, his entire place, his entire research lab burnt to the ground. And he turned to his kid and he said, go get your mother. She's never going to see a fire like this again. Mattress Mac. I'm looking at this over in the chat too. I talk about my failures because that's what made me successful. Leslie Thomas, oh my goodness. Bless your heart. I'm just still praying for you. I'm trusting you're getting better every single day. That's a lady that just, if you ever saw those commercials, the watches that take a licking, Timex takes a licking and keeps on ticking, right? That's Leslie Thomas, for heaven's sakes. She's been through a lot and she just keeps giving and helping people over and over again. So I want us to think about something. There's a thing called the 24-hour rule. Dang, Brad Pitt is on our call. Yeah, there is somebody named Brad Pitt. I know that. That's kind of fun. I love that. Who knows? Who knows who will attract, right? So I'm just going to read this part to you because I love it. It says, this week, choose to follow Dan Shula's 24-hour rule. When you experience a success or a win at something, celebrate. Give yourself and others credit. By the way, think about this. When somebody scores a touchdown, somebody had to give them the ball. You got to pass the ball. No one succeeds alone, right? Somebody's passing the ball to you. You got to run for the touchdown. But it says, give yourself and others credit. Yet once 24 hours has passed, move on. Don't think about it again. Go do something else. When I was in college selling home care products, I made a big sale. It was to a car wash. And I mean, here I was selling a bottle of cleaning fluid for the house and making like $3 a bottle or something like that. It was some little amount. And I sold a car wash that, I mean, they bought hundreds of cases. I was so excited. It was like, oh my goodness. And I called Nate, my manager, and I said, I made the biggest sale ever. And he said, okay, let's celebrate. And he said, for 24 hours. The next day he called me and he said, what are you doing today to lead generate? And I said, I just made the biggest sale. I was going to do homework and kind of take the day a little relaxing. And he goes, no, 24 hours is over. Get back to work. And I thought, you know what? He taught me a really good lesson. You can't sit just because you had one success. You got to go out and make more successes. So think about all of those things. And being successful, Kelly, let's tell them about what you've come up with. I love this summer surge that we're going to do.
Y'all, first of all, we are so thankful, honestly, for everybody here growing this community. I mean, what better way? You guys bring the energy, you bring the questions, and you're what makes this work. So let's keep growing. So we're going to do Summer Surge for June and July, kind of like we did March Madness, honestly. Invite someone to join the Tuesday call. There is the little QR code. You can just scan it. If they join, text me. That's the caveat right there. You got to text me and just say, hey, Kelly, so and so signed up. Or you can even register them and just let me know. And again, the person who enrolls the most at the end of July is going to win a free coaching call with Dianna. I mean, does it get any better than that?
Well, I'm excited. We may even put Tony on that call. That even gets better
Yes,
yet.
even bonus, absolutely. So give me a call if you need anything at all. I'm here to help you with all things Dianna and all things Tony. Love you
Hey, and
guys.
we have a Facebook question from Joseph says, I am lead generating 6 hours a day and reflecting. I need to get better with my objections. First of all, Joseph, congratulations. I admire you. We used to have 100 call days, and in our market center when I was a team leader, and we honored all the people that got hold of 100 people in one day, you know, and it was exhausting. Yet, man, their business shot up. Now, here's the best expired thing I can give you right now, because a lot of expired people, they say, why didn't you show my property when it was on the market? And I go, that is such a great question. And I can appreciate that, because see, the biggest reason I didn't show your property is your agent never sold it to me. In order to sell a house once, you have to sell it twice. You have to sell it to the agents, and the agents sell it to their buyers. And your agent never sold it to me. And that's one of the things that I do best. That's why so many people hire me and choose me to sell their home as the second realtor, because I get the home sold. I'm on the phone every day calling people looking for buyers through agents and by finding possibly my own buyer. Yet statistics show that only 7%, and it may even be less now because there's so many agents, it may be down to 3% of the homes actually sell by the agent that lists them. Yet I'm an agent that I just don't put a sign in your yard, put it in multiple listing and pray somebody else sells it. I actually prospect and I tell other agents about your home. I sell it once so it can be sold twice. When may we get together so I can explain my tactics and process? That's the best one I can give to you today. There's a lot of them on Sales Mastery that we're coming out with, and I'm scrolling up and down here to see what other things may come in. Did she say 78%? It was 79. Thanks, Chase, for clearing that up. And Brad Pitt, I love that. That's so cute. The tonality. Oh, this is a big one. Tony and I were talking about that the other night, that the tonality the agents use. I mean, you may have the proper script, yet what if I said, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in order to sell a house once, you have to sell it twice. I mean, it's just the way it works. You've got to sell it to an agent. Do you hear it? Versus Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What concerns me about that is, did you know that in order to sell a home once, you have to sell it twice? What's the difference in the tonality? Do you sound concerned? Because listen, record. Do you actually sound concerned for the person? Or is it just, here's the script and I'm going to give it and it's going to be monotone? Maybe you go up and down with inflection, yet where do you pause? Where do you downswing? All of these things are professional sales techniques, much like an actor or actress that gets going. And the man and the myth of Brad Pitt is on our call. Let's see, Sales Mastery, June 29th. Send out the link to register, please, so we can get that going. Summer Surge, inviting people, 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. See, I think that is so important. I had the faith. You know what? Owing 216 house payments and having to take care of my kids as a, I went through all sorts of things, the disappointment, the confusion, the pressure, the embarrassment, the everything else you can think of. Yet when I walked into that house, I knew I had one goal, but it wasn't about making the money. It was about helping the people. And I knew that I could help them more than anybody else. I owed it to them. And it's kind of like when I was thinking about Sales Mastery, I let you all down because I let you say, oh, if you want to sign up, that's great. Love to have you, that kind of thing. And I'm sitting here saying, no, I let you down. Hundreds of thousands of realtors are getting out of the business. Why? Because somebody like me doesn't say, you need to take this sales mastery. You need to get better. You got to put it in you to get it out of you. And I'm going, folks, let's not get out of the business. Let's become better, because as realtors get better, all boats rise, right? Have you ever had somebody that say, I'm going to do it for sale by owner because the last realtor was terrible? Well, they judge all realtors based on realtors. And I'm sorry that they do that. They base one agent of a company and the company based on another agent with the company. We've got to help people get better. That's why Sales Surge is going. And so I think when we have a setback, it's actually a set up for our next breakthrough. And Sales Mastery is here to help you. It says, thank you. It says, my daughter Ruth graduated. Ooh, wow, I love that, Comfort. And congratulations as we go through here. How do you handle the anger, blame coming at you from clients in the moment? Well, I'm assuming that they are angry or blaming you because their home isn't selling. I'm assuming that. I don't know what they're angry about. That's the reason most people got angry with me. And what I learned from that failure of having them get angry is I had to call them every week. And so every Wednesday, myself or my client care manager gave them a call. And, sometimes I had to tell them, you and I know you didn't get any showings this week. However, I did call the 5 agents that have listings around us. And I did do that. And you know what? The one that's priced lower had 3 showings. Another one priced lower went under contract. One is higher than ours. They got no showings at all. And I gave them the stats of what was happening. And I told them what I had learned. Mostly it was about price. And we had to lower the price. And here's what you do. You give them an option that sounds like an option. We can either lower the price by 10,000 or we can adjust it to market value. Which would you like to do? Now, it's an option, it's a choice, and it's the same thing. So, Mindy, what you got for us?
Good morning, Diana. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. It's so good to see you. Mindy is a great coach that joins us every week, just so you know. And he puts up with all this real estate talk and converts it just like that because he's so doggone smart. So let's go.
All right. So one of the things that I bring up to people, and it might very well apply to some people in the audience, is some people are successful in spite of themselves. And what that means is that you can achieve a certain level of success, like the person that wants to make $100 now as opposed to working for it to make the 1,000. But here's the thing, we always put barriers in our way, and we don't even realize what they are. We're not giving it all we got. And when people are successful in spite of themselves, they feel like, oh, I'm doing great, but they're afraid to experiment. They're afraid to tinker. They're afraid to do a little bit of extra work or even listen to mentors outside their comfort zone. So all I'm challenging the audience to do is, in what ways am I successful in spite of myself? Because that
Ooh, that's so good.
self-reflection can really help you see where you have certain weaknesses without somebody else pointing them out to you.
That is so good because we all have weaknesses and we want to stay in our strength zone. Yet, what are we doing to improve ourselves? And we'll end with this because it's 9:05. Abraham Lincoln said, if I had to chop down a tree and I had 5 hours to do it, I would spend 4 hours sharpening the axe and 1 hour chopping. Too many people are just chopping, 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 chopping because they let their checkbook do their thinking for them, not sharpening the axe. One idea this week, I'll be heading out tomorrow to be part of the Chosen, which I'm very excited about. And then I'm heading to Atlanta to learn from Ed Bastian Horschel's again. I've heard him speak many times, yet every time I can get in front of him, I'm going to do that and learn. And of course, John Maxwell, one of my mentors. And so I'll be bringing back some great ideas and that from there. Yet I just want you to know that you never stop learning. If there's ever a time that you think that you can stop, think again. This brain is always rewiring, and it's either rewiring to get better or it's sliding backwards. So with that, I'll leave you today. I'm very, very grateful for all of you. Let's get the summer surge going, build this community that you have been so faithful. So appreciate all of you so much. Bye-bye. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.